Welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with local and national thought leaders on issues impacting the Black community. Now introducing our host, Miss Ann Marie Sorrell.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders. I am your host, Ann Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. I am so happy to be here with you this afternoon and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us. Before we get started with our broadcast, I'd like to thank our sponsors who make this broadcast possible: Broward Health, the Florida Lottery, and the all-new Miami Land. Check out this new attraction in Miami if you're looking for something to do. Make sure you visit Miami Land this weekend or over the holidays while you're with your family. So today we have another special guest. I am super excited to talk to our guest today, Mr. Larry Deon Adams, who is the Director of Research Support for African American and Hispanic Alzheimer's Disease Studies. Welcome, Larry. How are you today?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, Ms. Sorrell. Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing well.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here with us. So for our audience who don't know you, before we get started, I just want to read your bio real brief so that our audience can get acquainted with you. So Mr. Adams is Director of Research Support at the John P. Hussman Institute for Human Genomics, HIHG is the acronym for you guys, where he oversees participant ascertainment and participation in the HIHG Alzheimer's Disease Research Study. Mr. Adams has a bachelor's degree in history with a focus in African American studies from Duke University. Mr. Adams played Division I football for the Duke Blue Devils. He has extensive experience with recruitment efforts for genetic research studies, especially within diverse populations. He is trained in all aspects of ascertainment and data management with 14 years of data management experience working with Dr., and I hope I say this right, Periacac Vance, first at Duke University and then at University of Miami. He has led essential recruitment efforts within African American and Hispanic communities. In addition to his HIHG work, Mr. Adams is also a high school football coach at Immaculata, I hope I'm saying it right, LaSalle High School, and is an active supporter of the J.J. Vance Memorial Summer Internship, where he recruits and mentors students for college and beyond. So welcome again, Larry.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. Thank you.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I am wonderful. So let's get started with, what is the John P. Hussman Institute for Human Genomics?
It's an institute here on the campus of University of Miami's medical campus. And in this institute, we study how genes influence disease in individuals. And we study those to try to find how these genes influence disease, so we can try to create a kind of an intervention point in for creating therapies and other treatments for people who may be overcome with those diseases.
Okay. And tell us about your role and your journey of how you got here in this role.
Oh, man. Well, as you mentioned in the bio, I had aspirations of being an NFL superstar early on. And towards the later end of my term at Duke University, during the summer, we didn't have like a bunch of support financially. And I had the opportunity to work for Dr. Margaret Periacac Vance when she was at Duke University. And I began working as a data tech. And during that career, I started to learn more about what genetic research was, just from entering all of the clinical forms that they had. And I became known as the guy who could get a lot of data entry done quickly if you needed help on any of your research studies. And so I kind of worked my way through college, finished up, and during my senior year, that's when the current place at Duke University that my current director was, she began to transition to come down to the University of Miami. And I helped with that transition of us moving from Durham, North Carolina to Miami, Florida. And I was shocked when once she got settled in, she gave me a call and asked, would I like to come down to Miami, Florida and work full time? And being a Southern boy from North Carolina with the opportunity to come down to Miami, Florida, I said, of course I will. Of course I will. So I didn't hesitate and came down. And right at that time, that's when a bunch of information was being included towards African-American research in Alzheimer's disease. So I was honored to be considered for that position to come down and help get that jump started.
Okay. So let's talk about the research.
So let's talk about.
I don't know what that feedback was. Okay. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
All right. I have an echo that's repeating for some reason. Sorry, it's throwing me off. So why is it important for African Americans and Hispanic to participate in research studies such as the ones that you're involved in?
It's significant because we there are health disparities out there for underrepresented groups out in the community, and we want to make sure that when you talk about treatment and the quality of care, that it's equal for everyone, irrespective of your race or ethnic background. And when you talk about advancements and some of the things that we're continuing to study today, Alzheimer's to be one in specific with what we do here, but even when it comes to cancer and other things that we continue to study and learn more about, it's only going to benefit individuals where we know about their health information. And we've had a chance to see how these diseases influence what's happening inside of that particular person or their genetics in general. And historically, there's been a significant kind of like inclusion of non-Hispanic white Europeans that have participated in the past. And there's a significant amount of information that can be looked at when you talk about disease, when you look at therapies and treatments. And when you look at the disproportion of samples that are involved with African Americans or Blacks or Hispanics, it doesn't compare or add up, especially when you talk about something like over 50,000 samples, and you're looking at 5,000 to 10,000 that are broken down between African American or Blacks or Hispanics.
Well, there's often, especially in the healthcare system, when it comes to research studies, when it comes to vaccines, there's often mistrust in our communities because of past experience and experiments such as like the Tuskegee experiment. How do you overcome this challenge with trust in our healthcare system, especially for research studies and vaccination studies and things like that?
That's a great question. And I will say transparency. That's one of the first things that we're asked about whenever we're out in the community and we're given educational talks about Alzheimer's research is, why should I trust you? And what's the difference between now and then during the Tuskegee experiment that took place? And the Tuskegee experiment was definitely not one of America's best times when it comes to research in general that was studied. But because of that, more guidelines and more laws have been put in place to protect humans that are involved in research. We have an internal review board here at the University of Miami that keeps us in compliance with our human subject research. And one of the things that changed was you have to be transparent with the people who are participating in your research studies. Everything as far as the procedures, the risk that it involves with participating in this research, everything has to be disclosed to people who want to participate. And that's a standard. And those who are out there who may be practicing in ways where they aren't doing those things definitely end up losing funding and no longer able to practice research.
Wow. No, that's good. I'm glad you talked about definitely the difference between then and now and the different guidelines and regulations that are in place. So from the studies that your organization has conducted, what have you seen to be some of the most interesting and maybe even challenging findings?
I would say right off the back is my director, she was significantly involved with taking the lead in finding the ApoE4 gene, which is a gene that has been shown to show that if you have this gene, it gives you an increased risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. And because she has the ability, she's been given the opportunity to include diversity in her research. We've been able to see how these genes interact among different populations. And some of the things that we've noticed is that certain genes that may influence one group to put them at a higher risk of developing certain diseases, that doesn't always hold true in another group of individuals where the same gene has no risk effect or little risk effect as it does in another.
Okay. Now, from specifically in the Alzheimer's area, what advancement in healthcare, in the healthcare sector is happening as a result of some of the research that you've conducted? Like, what are some of the new advancements that people can look to if they have a family member or if it's in their genes? What are some of the advancements that you can discuss?
Well, off the back, I would say that the biggest advancement is that communities are responding to wanting to come out and participate in the research, which is the first step. Closing that gap to be able to have the data to look at to come up with bigger advancements and new targets and new therapies begins with the participation. And so far, it's just been a lot of grassroots efforts to just kind of close that gap, to get the samples needed to be able to look and find new targets or find new genes in different populations and find out how those genes are influencing disease in those communities or those populations and be able to make more advancements. There are some genes that are more well known that you can go and have genetic tests for to see if you have these particular genes, to see if you could be at risk for disease. And I think our primary goal is just to expand on what's being done so more targets, more genes can be identified for better interventions and better therapies and treatments moving forward.
So take us through the process. Like, do you seek the people to be in the research, or do they seek you guys out? And then from there, once the research is done and you have these different findings, where does that information go? Does it go to physicians, World Health Organization? Where does this information go?
Great question. And it's kind of a twofold system. There are some individuals who are familiar with Alzheimer's disease. And so when they catch wind that there are research studies in their area, they definitely seek us out. They want to know if they can participate. They're eager to, have their sample included because they want to help the advancement of finding better treatments and a potential cure for Alzheimer's disease. And then there's another aspect of us going out into the communities, meeting with community leaders, talking to them and establishing kind of like what's the need for your particular area. Is it more about education of disease? Is it more of information for resources for people who are aware of what types of diseases they have? And then we go in with the plan of just educating, making people aware that, you have a choice to go have a doctor take a look at you if you're concerned, if you have worries that maybe your memory isn't what it was it isn't as good as it was back in the day, and you're concerned about those things, there are screens. There are tests that can be done. We just have to be outspoken and be willing to go seek the help to get some understanding of what's going on. Once the process is complete, which it's not a long process, we report all of our information to the National Institutes of Health and all of our other collaborators that we work with, in the event that possibly we can all collaborate to come together to find something that's uniquely associated across all sites, to then eventually move on to giving that information to the next level, which will be the pharmaceutical companies and everybody else, so they can begin to implement therapies and new treatments.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for definitely taking us through how this works. So what advice can you offer to someone who has a family member that suffers from Alzheimer's disease, or that perhaps may be impacted genetically themselves?
The first thing I would say is that you're not alone. There's others out there who are, have been where you are, that are going through the similar things that you were going through. And there's resources there. I know that the Alzheimer's Association provides a 24-hour customer service line for those who need help and assistance for loved ones when it involves care. And they provide other areas, other information to you regarding things that you can do to further care for a loved one that is dealing with Alzheimer's disease. And I would also urge you that knowing that there are current treatments that are in place now, and if you want to see an improvement, if you want to see more advancement, if you want to make a difference to say, I don't want this to affect the next generation within my family, then I would encourage them also to participate in the research studies like what we do here at the University of Miami. Because in the long run, the more we know about the disease, the better the treatments can be. And we just want to make sure that the treatments that are developed are available and effective for all races and ethnicities.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So what takeaway or golden nugget would you like to leave with our audience?
That there is hope. Opportunities are here, especially for all races, all ethnicities, to be proactive. We have to, wake up and realize that, diseases are out here and they affect us all. Not all of them are environmental, meaning things that we get into in our environment that cause them, like health and diet. Some of these things are hereditary. Some of them have been passed down from family member to family member. So I'll encourage you to, dig deeper into your family history, talk more to your parents, to your grandparents if they're around, understand, some of the things that you may be at risk for within your own family, and then educate yourself on those things. And once you have a better understanding about potential risks that could affect you, understand the impact that it could have on your children and the next generation. And the only way we can kind of get in front of that is to talk to our physicians, tell them what's going on, let them know that these are things that you are worried about, and then also take advantage of these research opportunities. Funding is there for us to be able to do the research that we do, but it can only be as good as those who are willing to come out and help advance the research. And so I just encourage you to stay in the fight. You're not alone. We're out here to help, especially here at the University of Miami. I encourage you that if you have any questions or concerns, especially as it relates to Alzheimer's disease, please contact myself, contact any of the staff that are located on our websites, and we're here to help in any way that we can. So please let us know how we can help.
And can you mind sharing the contact information as far as the website and how someone can get in touch with you at the University of Miami, or, your counterparts at the University of Miami?
Yes, ma'am. You can give us a call here. Our direct number is 305-243-6177. Again, that's 305-243-6177. And you can look up our website. It's on it's HIHG.org, HIHG.org.
Awesome. So we've put that in the comment section for everyone to review as well. So just stay with us for a couple of minutes. We do have some announcement. I do want to thank you again for joining us this afternoon, Larry. I know you're a very busy person, so thank you for being with us and sharing this very important information with our listeners and our community.
Thank you, Ms. Sorrell, and I want to thank the Miami Media Group as well as Legacy for the opportunity to share this information. Thank you all.
No, thank you. So stay with us for a moment. We have a few announcements. For those who are listening, please remember to read our Miami Fair issue, as well as the healthcare issue highlighting South Florida's frontline medical workers, healthcare, mental, physical, and emotional healthcare professionals. You can find them on miamediagroup.com, and that's miamediagrp.com. The Art of Black Miami issue of MIA Magazine is a beautiful artistic representation and guide of galleries that represent Black artists for Miami visitors and local. This issue will be published on November 27th, so just a few days away before you get to see this issue. So make sure you mark your calendars and check out that issue at miamediagroup.com as well. Remember to watch our weekly entertainment show, Soul. The show discusses art and culture, food, fashion, relationships, mental health, and more. Tune in every Wednesday at 7 p.m. with host Nikki Jellin. And again, thank you to our sponsors, the Florida Lottery, Broward Health, and don't forget this weekend, as well as while you're on break next week for Thanksgiving or fall break, to check out Miami Land, who is also one of our sponsors. Make sure you share this video and mark your calendar. Next week is Thanksgiving Day, so we will not be broadcasting next week. However, we will be back on November 3rd. So please mark your calendar, share this video, and we'll see you on Thursday, November 3rd at noon.